everyone, what's up? My name is Joss and welcome back to my channel Squibbles Reads. Today's video is going to be my October TBR, but it is going to be a very special video because one of the books that I chose for my TBR is the book that I picked for my new book club that is starting on October 1st. I'm gonna give you guys all the info about my book club, but just hold tight. First, I'm going to let you guys know all the other books that I plan on reading in October. The first book that I'm going to read is called Rich People Problems by Kevin Kwan. This is the third book in the Crazy Rich Asians series. If you guys have been with me, you will know that I have been reading the series over the past couple months. We've actually been listening to them on audiobook on long road trips. We take one road trip that's about 6 hours every few weeks, and we smash one of these audiobooks out in like a road trip and then a little bit after that. But this is basically a series that starts off with a girl named Rachel Chu, and she finds out that her boyfriend Nicholas Young is one of the most eligible bachelors and one of the richest people that lives in Singapore, and then she goes and meets his family, and then all kinds of crazy hijinks ensue. So even though this book is a really fun, light-hearted contemporary with lots of wits and wiles, one of the things that I really enjoy about it is that it talks a lot about different Chinese subcultures and different dialects in different regions, and all the different types of attitudes that they have towards each other and towards different parts of culture, like food and clothing and all that stuff. So I'm really enjoying it. It's also just like a really fun road trip book, so we are just going to continue on with the series. And the second book is actually a book that was on my September TBR. This is a book that I'm reading for another book club that I'm in. It was started by Emma from Emma Tobias and also Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, and this is called Far From You by Tess Sharp. We took a brief break from it, but we will be picking it back up in the month of October. I can't really tell you much about this, but I am about 25% through it, and I am really enjoying it. But what I can tell you about it is that it is a pretty fast-paced thriller, which you know that I love. It is told in a lot of separate little timelines that jump back and forth, which sounds really confusing, but surprisingly it's not. I know I was really freaked out kind of going into it because that's something that kind of boggles my mind a little bit. It also has bisexual representation. As I was saying, I'm about 25% through and I'm really liking it. And if you guys are interested, this book club that they started is called the Girl Sex 101 Book Club, and basically all the books that are chosen are books that focus on sex and sexuality and the way that they are represented in books about females, most specifically teenage females. So if you guys do want to jump in on that, I will probably have another book on my TBR coming up very soon that is for this book club after we finish this one. And the third book that I want to read in October is called Arabella and the Battle of Venus, and this is by David D. Levine. This is the second book in the Adventures of Arabella Ashby series, and the first book is Arabella of Mars. If you guys heard me talking about it, I think it was one of my favorite books of 2016. It was on that list. So obviously, since this is the second book in the series, I won't tell you anything about the synopsis that was on Goodreads. I hardly looked at it myself. But the first book starts off with this girl, and her name is Arabella. She is a human girl. She was raised on Mars, but then sent back to Earth. But then something happens, and she really wants to get back to Mars, and the only way that she can get there is if she dresses up like a dude and hops on this ship full of sky pirates. So it is a little bit steampunk, it's a little bit space opera, it's just a lot of fun. I honestly had no idea that the second book came out. I think it came out in the second week of July, but during that time I was having my wedding, and then we went on this big trip afterwards, and I just had no idea about any of the releases that were coming out in the book world. So now it's out, and now I get to read it. Okay friends, so it is time. I am about to tell you about my new book club. I'm so excited. Okay, so a little bit of background. I have wanted to start a book club for a while now, but the timing just hasn't been right. So my ideal situation was to find a group of about 8 to 10 people and start a group chat on like Voxer or Slack or some other group chat app like that, and have the book club be as much like a real life book club as possible, like have a bunch of discussion about the book, but also kind of get to know each other through the discussion of the book and become a little closer. So I kind of just did a little peekaboo on Twitter and was like, hey, if I started this thing, would anyone actually be interested? And I thought that 5 people maybe would be like, yeah, like if I have time that month. But I got about like 80 to 85 responses, and that was like literally like 20 times more than I thought it would be. So I was then stuck with the problem of like, how would I curate the group? How would I choose the people in the group? Would it be like a rotating group? I had no idea how it would work. So I had to scrap that idea. I may come back to it later. I may start with like a little trial run of a group with like people that I know we may not even read the book, like we may just like try out different apps and stuff. I don't really know, but that idea is tabled for now. And what we are going to do instead is I'm going to start a Goodreads group and then we'll see what happens from there. So now let's get into the actual concrete details of the book club instead of continuing to discuss that hot mess that was like my thinking train. So the book club is going to be called Storytime with Squibbles, which was not the winner of the poll, but it was very, very close, and I had really warmed to the idea of Storytime with Squibbles. So that is the name that I chose, and I'm going to be using the hashtag StorytimeWSquibbles. So I'm saving you guys 3 characters without including the ITH. So the hashtag is StorytimeWSquibbles on Twitter and on Instagram. So this will be a monthly book club. I will, from here on out, choose a book about a couple weeks before the end of the month, so you guys will have time to go and get it. If you need to put it on hold at the library, if you need to order it from someplace far away, you will have time to do that in the future, but not this month. We're just getting going, so it's totally fine. Also, just so you guys get kind of a feeler taste of the books that I will be picking for the book club, there will be newer books and older books. You guys know that I'm not really picky about that. I do tend not to gravitate towards sci-fi and fantasy, but every time I've read sci-fi or fantasy, I've really enjoyed it. So I'm not gonna say like no sci-fi or fantasy. Who knows, maybe my November book will be a sci-fi or fantasy. Kind of a good benchmark for books that are similar to books that I might pick, but I have already read all of these books. So something like Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Homegoing by Ya Jessie, Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, which you guys know is one of my favorite books. I also really enjoyed Shelter by Jung Yoon, and if you guys want an example of a sci-fi book that I really liked, it is The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. I also love crime fiction, so you might be seeing a couple of crime fiction books in your future if you do decide to read with me. I also do a lot of advocacy for Own Voices books, so you will see a lot of Own Voices books and books featuring marginalized characters written by diverse authors in this group. If that is not something that you're interested in, then you are probably better off finding another book club. So yeah, we are going to start on Goodreads, and then I will see what happens from there if I want to do anything else other than that in the future. Of course, I'm going to leave the Goodreads link down in the down bar below if you want to send a request to join. I did ask a few questions when you do request to join, just because I still kind of wanted to keep it relatively constrained, and I don't mean like super restricted, but by that I just mean keeping out like spam bots and people who are trying to sell me their diet tea and their sugar bear hair. Please do not bring those things into the group. But yeah, other than that, just go ahead and request to join. I do have a thread in the group where you guys can introduce yourselves. It's just called Introductions. I also have a thread that has the master schedule of all the books and links to those books on Goodreads that we will be reading every month. And then I have spoiler and non-spoiler discussion threads. This month, the book that I chose is a little bit under 300 pages, so I split the spoiler discussion threads into the first half and the second half of the book, but I might be splitting the book up into more sections if the book is longer than that, so we can get a good discussion going about all the different parts of the book. In the spoiler discussions, I specified what page number we are going up to in the US and the UK editions, just so we are splitting each book directly in half and we don't have like middle ground spoilers kind of infiltrating their way into the other thread. Also, on that point of US and UK editions, every month I will do my very best to choose books that are published in like 99.9% of the world. I can't guarantee that every single month, but I did check this month to see if it was. Originally, I chose a book that is not yet out in Australia, so good catch on that one. I will also be doing live sessions on Instagram, and if you have not followed me on Instagram, it's just at squibblesreads. I will do the live session a little bit after the end of every month, so you guys do have up until the end of the month to finish the book, and I'll talk about the book for maybe like 20-30 minutes, depending on how many people are there with me. I'll probably do a poll as to what day is best for people and what time. And then there is also an option for me to leave the live show up for 24 hours thereafter, so I will choose that. So if you're not able to join me at that time, you can always watch it for 24 hours. And one of the reasons why I'm doing it on Instagram and not on YouTube is because I love doing live shows with other people on YouTube. Don't get me wrong, I really, really enjoy them. But I just find that when I'm like sitting in my room and broadcasting on YouTube, something is just really squicky about that to me. Not that this is really any different, but maybe sometime in the future I might decide to move to YouTube, but for now we're doing Instagram live sessions. And of course I'll include the book in my monthly wrap-up every month, and I will include a time-stamped link to my wrap-up in the Goodreads group if you want to check out my thoughts there. Okay, so after like a million hours of that, I'm finally going to tell you guys what book we are reading for the month of October. You guys are probably like, God damn it, just tell me now. But that was really aggressive. So the book that I picked for October is Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. This is a book that I mentioned in my mid-year book freakout tag. That was one of the books that I really wanted to get to before the end of 2017. I believe it came out a few weeks ago in the US and it has been out for several months in the UK. I just read in an interview today that Adebayo studied with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and Margaret Atwood. And if that is not ultimate goals, like, I don't even know what is, because that is so cool. But this is a book set in Nigeria. It is about a couple named Yejide and Akin is expected, according to customs, to take several wives, but they have decided together that that type of lifestyle is just not for them. However, it has been 4 years and they have been wanting to start a family for a while and is not yet pregnant, and it is taking kind of a strain on their marriage. They have been to see many doctors and healers, they've tried weird teas, all this stuff, and there is no pregnancy yet. So there is a little bit of strain on their marriage, and then one day her family comes and introduces her to a woman that they tell her is Akin's second wife, and then things will spiral from there. So a lot of themes of family, themes of women's bodies and how they are viewed in that time in the country. I also read that it discusses some of the political climate in Nigeria in the 1980s, so I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about that and how that type of climate affects the expectations on their family, their marriage, pregnancy, children, and all of that stuff. I did see rave reviews from several people that I really trust of this book. So yeah, we are going to jump into this in October. Again, if you want to join me, the Goodreads link is down below. My Instagram, where Instagram live sessions will be happening, is at squibblesreads, and we will be using the hashtag StorytimeWSquibbles. So that is it. I really hope you guys are able to join me in my Goodreads group or anywhere reading this book with me for October. If you guys aren't able to get the book for October, I will let you guys know in advance what book we're reading for November, so no worries there. If you decide to join me, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!